Bobby, you were the frontman of Toto, a tremendous band which had tremendous success in the 70s and the 80s.
Yes, I was called in 1977 to come and play with the band Toto. And the guys, David Page, the keyboard player, and Jeff Porcaro, the drummer. David was at Jeff's house. They were sitting on a couch, and there was a television right across from them that was on, but they talked about everyone they wanted in the band and what they wanted to do to record and where they wanted to do it, everything. They talked for 2 hours, and when they finished talking for 2 hours, they stopped and looked at the television, and the movie, The Wizard of Oz, was on the television, and a little dog ran out, and a guy came running behind the dog, and he said, "Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore." And Jeff Porcaro punched David on the shoulder and he said, "That should be the name of the band, Toto." That's why, and I loved it.
I was going to ask you who created the name of the band.
Well, Jeff and David Page.
Because of this coincidence, yeah?
They put the band together, and that was absolutely fantastic. And I have to tell you, I played with them from 1977 until 1984. Then I moved to Germany and worked with Frank Farian on the Far Corporation album. But when I moved back, I bought a house for 6 years in Frankfurt. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you, my mother's father was born in Frankfurt and lived in Frankfurt for many years. And then about 2 years before World War II, he moved to the town I grew up in. It's called Vinton, Louisiana, a little 3,000 person town. And anyhow, when he got there, he built a house that I grew up in, and he had 2 huge restaurants, and he was mixing German food and Cajun food together, and therefore both of his restaurants were so full of people. My mother cooked that for me when I was growing up. But anyhow, it was so fantastic. However, he died when my mother was 13. I wish I could have met him so bad. But my mother, since her father was 100% Deutsch, my mother was 50% Deutsch. I am 1/4 Deutsch.
1/4?
Yes, 1/4.
How about your knowledge of German language?
I lived here for 6 years, from 1984 until 1990. And it was absolutely fantastic.
There must have been something left.
I lived in Frankfurt. It was so fantastic. I had a house. I bought a house 1/2 block behind the Alte Oper. And boy, that was fantastic, because when they had big these party things out in front of the Alte Oper, there were sometimes 100 or 200,000 people. I would go there really fast. Yeah. I loved it so much. And getting on the freeway in Germany.
The Autobahn?
My God, you would not. I never could believe that sometimes people were going so fast. I loved driving really, really fast. Because in America, the speed limit is way down. You know, it takes a long time to get places. Yeah. But I love it here.
Of course, yeah, it gives you freedom
yes.
in a certain way. Asking you something about your musical influences on yourself. Did you find your own style of singing?
I did, but I need to tell you something. When my mother, after I was born, when I was 4.5 years old, I would stand and watch my mother play the piano. Mm-hmm. She had perfect pitch. Everything she heard on a radio or a record, she could sit down and play it 100% perfect. Well, I would watch her for about an hour and a half every time she was on that piano. And after about 20 times I watched her, she grabbed my arm. She said, "Bobby, let me teach you some piano chords." Well, she started when I was 4.5, and by the time I was 5 years old, she taught me, and I learned 300 piano chords. I would sit on the piano and play piano chords for an hour, and it was fantastic. I was 5 years old. Well, I did not know anything about rhythm. Oh my God. Well, let me tell you this. I went to the barber shop. The town I lived in, only 3,000 people. It was a little tiny town. But I went to the barber shop to get a haircut, and right across from me, there was this black guy standing up and shining shoes, facing the other direction. And I have to tell you, he was popping that shoe shine rag to a New Orleans second line beat. It was the most fantastic rhythm I've ever heard in my life. And anyhow, when I finished getting a haircut, I walked over and I tapped his elbow. I said, "What is your name?" He said, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Bobby. What is yours?" And he said, "Well, I have to tell," he was 52 and I was 5, okay? 52-year-old guy. And he was so fantastic with this rhythm. He would hum songs every now and then while he was doing it. But anyhow, he told me, he says, "Here," he says, "white people don't call black people by their real name." He says, "I am tanning leather shoes. You can call me Tanner." I went, "Oh my God, that's so fantastic." Well, anyhow, I asked him, I said, "Can I come and watch you do this rhythm on those shoes? Because I've learned 300 piano chords from my mother. I need some rhythm in my mind." And he said, "Yes." I went there every day for 3 weeks, and I would run 4 blocks home, use his rhythm, my mother's chords, and I wrote 5 songs when I was 5 years old. Wow. And I was also singing those songs, and that's when I first started singing. But my first band, I was 8 years old. I put a band together. And when I was 12 years old, I started playing nightclubs. My mother and father gave me permission and signed the bottom. I had to show the police, the security, the club owners. Okay.
Yeah. Well, as a very, very famous band you were with Toto.
Oh my God, I absolutely love Toto so much. I will always love them so much. I love everyone in that band, and I love all of their music.
I guess you never regretted it, being together with Toto.
Well, I was with them twice.
I know.
Yes, I started in 1977, and we released an album 1978, the first album. It was called Toto. And I did hold the line. I wrote a song about my daughter called "You Are the Flower." And my daughter was 9 months old, and I wrote that song the night before I brought this song into the studio with the guys recording. And we recorded the song I wrote the night before called "You Are the Flower."
Wow. In front of me, there's the album called Hydra. I will show you that one. And this is my favorite album, to be honest. I love it. I really love it.
You like that better than Toto 4?
Well,
with Africa and Rosanna?
Well, these smash hits, Rosanna, Hold the Line, Africa,
yes.
Wow. They are, of course, are the best known top 5 hits. And but you and your band, you had released a total of 17 albums, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. Sorry, and you have sold over 40 million copies.
Yes, I know. And the new album they just released not long ago, I'm singing 4 or 5 of the songs. You know, they remastered Africa, Rosanna, Hold the Line. But I love it. I absolutely love it that they're doing that.
I was going to ask you about the Grammy Award you took.
1983. Wow. But we released the Toto 4 CD in 1982. Mm-hmm. But we went out and toured for almost a year. And during that tour, the last song, an encore song, I was standing off the side of the stage while Steve Lukather was playing a long, long solo. And I would always, the song that we would do, I would always run back on the stage when he finished and jump. I would put a foot on one of the monitor speakers and jump over it and scream. And the thing is, we were on a small stage in Nashville, Tennessee, and the small stage, they pulled the monitor speaker up and put a piece of wood there. When I stepped on it, the speaker rolled and my leg went down, and my left leg, instead of being like that, it was like that. I broke it. But we did not miss one concert. I went to the hospital and they fixed my knee. Oh boy, it was broken 50%. It was like that.
My goodness.
Yes, but anyhow, I did not want to miss one concert, and we did not. The whole time I had a cast from my hip all the way to my feet during that tour. But after I got the cast off, and the first time I had ever walked without that cast and crutches, we were at the Grammys in 1983, and we were nominated for 8 Grammys. And well, the thing is, we were nominated for 8, but after at the end of the Grammys, we had won each 6 Grammys. And that was totally a new record of how many Grammys any band would win. And they won, all of us won 6 Grammys. It was so fantastic, I can't tell you.
We always hear only the best known songs of Toto on the radio. Now, the latest album, as far as I know, was released in March 2015, called Toto 14. Is there a slight different musical style in comparison to the older albums?
Maybe a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a new singer, but I've loved every album they've ever done. Yeah. Everything.
It seems to me, I've got the impression that you still are feeling with the old band Toto in your heart.
I do. I love them. And actually, the guy who's singing with them right now, I sang with them before. After I left the band in 1984, they hired this one guy from Louisiana. And anyhow, he wasn't with the band very long. They let him go. And then they hired the guy that's with them right now. They went to high school with him. And his name is Joseph Williams, and he's a friend of mine. And he's also a great singer.
I would like to talk about a very, very famous guitarist. His name is Steve Lukather.
Buddy, there is not a better guitarist than Steve Lukather, and he is a friend of mine.
Even not George Benson? Even not George Benson?
Oh, George is good. Yes, of course. But last year in close to L.A. at the NAMM convention, I ran into Steve at the NAMM convention, and I gave him a hug. I said, "Steve, I love you so much." And he gave me a hug and said, "I love you too." And then he did an interview, and they asked him, "What do you think about Bobby?" And he said some wonderful things. Mm-hmm. But he's a friend of mine, and all of those guys in that band, they're friends of mine.
For how long did he join the band Toto?
From the very beginning, from 1977.
77,
yeah.
That's right.
I was with him from 1977 to 1984. Then after the 3 singers they hired after me, they called me and they wanted me to come back into the band at 1998. You know, he plays with the drummer from the Beatles.
Ringo?
Yes, Ringo Starr. And he does a lot of concerts with Ringo, and that to me is so fantastic.
Well, Steve Lukather, he was playing with Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton.
Oh, yes.
You mentioned Paul McCartney, the Tubes, Joe Cocker, Boss Skaggs in Chicago, and he must have met...
And they all loved him. And so do I. I think he's one of the best in the world, to me.
What's he doing now?
He's playing with Toto. And he's playing with Ringo Starr, too. Whenever Ringo has a concert, Steve will be there.
Fantastic.
And he sings very good. He plays guitar very good. And he does so many concerts with other people. He writes good songs, too.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you to sign this album called Hydra, released in 1979.
Yes.
Wow, wonderful album. As I said, my favorite one.
Yes. Well, so that's Steve Porcaro down in, this is one of those things below the street. And when people flush toilets, millions of people, it goes through there, but they waited, it was blocked. And he went down there and they took the picture of him. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
Tremendous success of a band called Toto, and you're still on stage.
Yes.
And right here in Germany. Is it like kind of coming home again?
I honestly have to tell you, if Toto is playing here, you have to go and see them, because you will absolutely adore how wonderful they are. I always have. It is fantastic. I should have brought my pen out.
Well, sound check, I can hear it in the background.
Yes, I need to sound check. There you go. And here's your pin.
There we are. Thank you very much indeed, Bobby. Famous last words of yours.
I'm not gonna die.
Wonderful. Bobby, thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's been a pleasure meeting with you in person, as we only planned an interview on Skype. Do you remember?
Yes.
So,
yes. I wanted to tell you, really, really nice. When I'm playing with 9 bands around the world at the moment.
Oh.
Well, when I see huge smiles on people's faces, thousands of people out there, when I see that, I invite them to come backstage after the concert, or if they cannot make it back there, I go into the audience, and for about 2 or 3 hours, I'm signing autographs and taking photos and everything, but they tell me, oh my God, that was so wonderful. We feel so good because you made us feel good, and we enjoyed it so much. That makes me the happiest person I can possibly be. And my birthday was just March the 29th on a Thursday.
Happy belated one.
Yes, but I swear, because I am so happy all of the time, my whole life, because I'm on the road 200 or 250 days a year. Because I'm so happy, my birthday felt like I turned 46 years old. I'm a lot older than that, but I don't feel any more than 46. I feel great.
Terrific. Wonderful. Bobby Kimball, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Done.
Once again.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Have a good gig.
Okay, I will. Cut.